This deep dive is provided by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis, based on the most relevant LinkedIn posts about go-to-market in calendar weeks 50 through 01. Frennis is a B2B market research company helping enterprises gain the customer, competitive, and positioning insights needed to drive GTM success. Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, if you thought the B2B go-to-market world was taking a breath over the holiday slowdown, you definitely missed the memo.
Not at all.
We spent the turn of the year digging through the most critical LinkedIn discourse, and the message is just, well, it's resounding. GTM is shifting from a collection of tactics to a professional, engineered operating system.
That is the definitive trend, isn't it? The whole era of, fragmented campaigns and one-off efforts is being replaced by this focus on durable, integrated revenue systems.
It's all about predictability.
It is. It's not just about being efficient anymore. It's about establishing that predictability.
And that's exactly what we're here to unpack for you. We've synthesized the top go-to-market trends we saw, and we've structured this around 4 key clusters of insight.
Right. From the architects building the system to the AI that fuels it, and, of course, the foundational strategy that dictates whether any of it succeeds.
Our mission, as always, is to give you the most important takeaways in the fastest possible time.
So let's start with the central figure here, the person driving this whole transformation, the GTM engineer.
This is more than just a new title, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is no longer just a fancy name for an ops person. It's emerging as a distinct, high-leverage discipline that's really focused on designing the entire revenue system end to end.
Okay, so if they're the architect of revenue, what's in their blueprint? I mean, what specialized skills does this role actually demand?
It demands a truly unique blend. Alessandra Lombardo detailed this really well. You need someone who is, at their core, a builder.
A builder.
Yeah. This role, it sits right at the intersection of sales, marketing, and product growth. The non-negotiables are workflow mastery, so deep skill in tools like NENN, Zapier, API knowledge.
So they're stitching everything together.
Exactly. They're basically writing the integration layer for the business.
That sounds like a RevOps person with a massive dose of technical literacy. They aren't just managing the CRM.
No, they're bending it to their will. It's obsessive CRM mastery paired with AI tooling knowledge. But the core mindset is product-centric. They're shipping leverage, a systemic improvement, not just administrative features.
Which is probably why Felix Frank called it one of the hardest jobs in revenue.
It is. It takes elite, strategic, technical, and even account management skills, all tied directly to measurable results.
That high-pressure, high-reward profile, I mean, retention has got to be brutal if you don't manage it correctly.
It is. Noemi J. raised a huge flag here. She warned that if you hire a great GTM engineer and then give them a vague scope and no clear priorities, you're going to lose them fast.
You have to give them a mandate.
Absolutely. You've hired an architect. Give them a runway. Lawrence Nyes made the point that GTM engineering should be treated like product development. They own the roadmap, run sprints, and issue release notes for process changes.
That transparency seems key.
It's everything. And we're already seeing this professional evolution play out. Benjamin Reed and Vivek Sudarsan both track the career path, and it's moving rapidly toward revenue engineer and senior RevOps leadership.
So systems ownership is now a senior mandate.
Right. But we have to address the critique here, though. Olivier Teitgat had a pretty sharp take.
Okay.
He suggested that many people claiming the GTM engineer title today are often just specialists learning in public. Mastering a specific tool like Clay for list building, but maybe lacking the skills for deep architectural maintenance.
That's a difficult tightrope, isn't it? How do you, as a leader, distinguish between an operator running a play and an engineer who can design the whole stadium?
I think it comes back to whether they're shipping systemic improvements or just fulfilling reactive tasks. A true engineer can articulate the coherence of the whole system.
Right, not just one part of it.
And that idea of a coherent system, it brings us directly to our second major theme, GTM AI, specifically the shift to agentic and data-led acceleration.
The expectations for AI have definitely matured. It's not about fun pilots anymore.
No, not at all.
It's about generating results in quarters, not years. The time for experimentation is over. The time for implementation is now.
And that pressure for time to impact is fundamentally changing data strategy. Joseph Santos noted this. Teams are leaning heavily on external referential data to accelerate their AI initiatives immediately.
So pre-resolved identities, verified contacts, that sort of thing.
Exactly, to bypass months of internal data normalization and, CRM cleanup.
But that raises a big question for me. If you're building your AI on someone else's data foundation, how do you prevent baking in their biases? It feels like you're trading speed for ultimate control.
It's a calculated risk, for sure.
Yeah.
You're trading months of internal work for immediate actionability, but the key is integrating that data strategically.
Okay.
And Danny Japenko outlined the new system architecture for this. He sees 4 distinct motions emerging in the tech stack.
4. Okay, what are they?
So first, you have your AI-native CRMs. Then you have specialized tools for GTM engineering, like Clay. Then individual co-pilots. And finally, the really ambitious GTM platforms that aim to connect everything.
And within that architecture, the actual labor is being done by something new. Samita argued that high-performing GTM teams, the ones hitting over $1 million in revenue per employee, they run on agents, not headcount.
The shift to agentic AI.
Exactly.
And this is the key differentiator. Agentic AI means the AI can handle complex logic and sequencing on its own. It's not just generating copy.
No, it's figuring out who to research, what to enrich, and when to execute a multi-step sequence, all without a human pushing a button for every single task.
Jonathan M.K. gave a perfect example of this with Apollo's AI assistant. It can orchestrate these really complicated GTM motions, qualifying accounts, building personalized sequences, all through simple conversational prompts.
So it's a tool designed to remove work, not just add another step to the process.
That's the goal. And Scott Wyszynski and Nevlin Jansen articulated the philosophy behind this so well. They argued the problem isn't a lack of effort.
It's a flawed architecture.
Precisely. An AI-native GTM system moves past just optimizing single tasks. It's about building orchestrated workflows where AI is the fuel and signals flow freely across acquisition and expansion.
And that design shift means your returns become exponential, not linear.
Right. A smarter system just keeps accelerating its own returns.
But all this scale has to be balanced. Ariel Levin emphasized that the volume at all costs era is dead. The new model relies on agentic AI for scale, but it demands that humans focus on the relationships.
The trust economy.
Yes, the trust economy, where your personalized social presence and your email reputation become the real human differentiator.
You can automate the execution, but you can't automate authenticity.
Which brings us sharply to our third theme, the non-negotiable foundation of this whole system: strategy, ICP, and the return to clarity.
This is where most failure originates. I mean, Mike Davis put it so succinctly. He said, a product without a go-to-market strategy is just an expensive experiment.
That's powerful.
It is. Products don't usually fail because they're technically flawed. They fail because the company never nailed the strategy for who, why, and how to sell it.
And Valentina Rua Martinez observed that most GTM problems are actually clarity problems, not sales problems.
Right. Reactive or unfocused setups lead to this random expensive growth that doesn't have any real leverage.
So what are the big mistakes? What are these fatal flaws?
TK Cater detailed 3 big ones. First, diluted messaging. Marketing language so generic it could apply to any competitor.
Oh, yeah.
Second, zero positioning. This is where you lose deals not to a rival, but to the status quo. The customer just keeps using their spreadsheet.
I'm the third.
The massive ICP, the classic attempt to boil the ocean by trying to target everyone.
So how do we get crystal clear? Pankaj Gumar gave a pretty blunt diagnosis on this.
I think I know the quote you mean.
He said if your GTM plan lacks a clear ICP, segments, and lead scores, you do not have a GTM plan. You have a slide deck. You have vibes.
That phrase just sticks because it's so true. His blueprint demands specifics, defining your ICP not just by broad industry, but by sub-industry, by tech stack patterns, by critical trigger events.
And your segmentation has to clearly tier accounts, tier 1, 2, and 3, so you can allocate resources where they'll have the most impact.
Right. And we've also seen people like Jamie Walsh suggest moving beyond static personas entirely.
To jobs to be done.
Exactly. Anchor your messaging in the JTBD framework. It forces you to focus on the specific job the buyer is under pressure to finish, which makes your outreach inherently more relevant.
All of this clarity, though, it requires real leadership courage. Sophie Bonanassi made a great point that the hardest GTM decisions aren't made when the business is struggling.
It's when things are working.
Exactly, when you have to disrupt current success to design for the future.
And Christopher Campbell added that organizations repeat GTM mistakes because they reset activity every January, new quotas, new campaigns, but they rarely reset their understanding of why they truly won or lost the year before.
You can't engineer success if you don't audit failure. That's a great takeaway.
Which brings us to our final cluster of insights, the engineered revenue system, how we put this all into practice with data, alignment, and trust.
So how do we operationalize all this clarity?
Well, we start by recognizing the philosophical shift around data. Alan C. advocated moving from being data-driven, which just means you have dashboards,
Right, everyone has dashboards.
to being data-led, which means you proactively extract concrete insight and then take intentional, measurable action based on it.
And that transformation needs a systematic way to score accounts. Bill Stathopoulos had a really practical framework for this.
The 2026 GTM prioritization matrix. It's a simple 2x2 grid. It uses account foot score, how well they match your ICP and engagement score.
Their active behavior, like visiting the pricing page.
Right. And it uses that to clearly tier accounts into buckets. Target, nurture, opportunistic, and deprioritize.
That scoring mechanism becomes the alignment engine. But at the same time, we're seeing this renewed emphasis on high-touch channels. René Marek calls events a crucial trust accelerator.
It makes sense. It collapses the funnel by shifting these passive digital lurkers into engaged prospects through real human interaction.
It's the ultimate counterpoint to all the automation we've been talking about. Chris Jenkins is even calling for event engineering.
Treating in-person intent with the same rigor as digital data.
Exactly. If you're going to invest in events, you have to track the ROI like you would in any other channel.
But sometimes the most effective system is built on simplicity. There was a fascinating case study from Natasha Odiemi.
No, the LinkedIn outreach one.
Yes. A GTM agency got a 65% reply rate on cold LinkedIn outreach just by using simple human messaging. They even included deliberate minor errors to signal it wasn't some polished, automated campaign.
It's proof that the ultimate leverage is still human connection.
It is. But none of this works without system control. Stefan Mays argued GTM systems often fail because local fixes marketing fixes volume, sales fixes outbound don't interact correctly.
So local optimizations actually degrade the total system performance.
They can, yeah. It's not about capability, it's about governance. Tim Hillison noted that tech just amplifies your existing structure. If your system is coherent, output improves. If it's confused, confusion just accelerates.
So governance controlling how the GTM system is allowed to behave from end to end, that's the real path to consistency.
It is. So if we circle back to our big theme, what we've seen is this consensus that go-to-market must be treated as an engineered, intentional system. Catherine Chwagamahinja, Phil Charlin, they all affirm that predictable, scalable growth only follows when this architectural predictability is established first.
The focus is squarely on architecture and systems that outlast tactical fixes. But there is a final, really powerful thought for you to consider as you design your own GTM engine.
This is where we go beyond predictability and into emergence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jonathan Moss made this fascinating argument that the math governing growth systems doesn't really follow the tidy bell curves we assume.
Okay.
Instead, they often follow power laws and criticality. What that means is extreme asymmetry is the default. One customer, one piece of content, or one sales rep carries a disproportionate amount of the results.
The 80-20 rule on steroids.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So if a tiny fraction of your efforts drives the vast majority of your success, then designing your GTM system purely for consistency or for the average result is, well, it's counterproductive.
So instead,
you should be architecting the conditions for those high-leverage spikes, those rare emergent events, to happen more often. That means building a system designed not just for consistency, but for emergence.
a very provocative thought to end on.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, new editions drop every 2 weeks. Also, check out our other editions on account-based marketing, field marketing, channel marketing, MarTech, social selling, and AI in B2B marketing. Thank you for diving deep with us, and be sure to subscribe for more essential insights.